To be nice doesn't mean to be good, it means something is unoffensive. Nice is the antithesis of culture. Art should have pointy edges that make people think and feel while still being beautiful. Ugliness isn't art, but it's niceness that glorifies modern art garbage as enlightened and complex. I have a personal dislike with the term and the meaning of how we use the word nice to compliment a thing or person. It doesn't mean polite, and it certainly doesn't mean honest. Polite is about manners and decorum, interacting with respect, and honesty is the same. Even when sharp, it is a form of respect to assume a person can understand and handle the truth. Nice is one of those meaningless words now, same as like or literally. It's been used to death to mean anything vaguely good. Webster's dictionary from 2002 defines nice as pleasing, courteous or considerate, delicate or subtle. It's now used to mean anything inoffensive enough not to need another adjective. A person is nice when they have soft enough edges they don't threaten your way of thinking or feeling. Art is nice when it does the same. Art and writing are what define a culture in that generation. Today's art and books prioritize niceness over anything else and punishes honesty. Just a heads up that my new novelette book is going to be available for pre-sale soon. If you're curious about kale, you can sign up for my newsletter to be notified first when it's available. A painfully ugly statue is brave and impactful because it has the right subject matter and intent. Movies of the last generation left you with thoughts. Our movies are now forgotten by the time the credits roll. The only feedback was, it was okay. Okay, hollow, nothing, nice. And art, it's barely even assuming enough to be nice rather than bland nothingness. But criticizing it is back to taboo because you're called close-minded for not seeing the emperor's beautiful clothes. In real life, most people can see the nonsense, but nicely agreeing that the ugly, boring art and writing that is culture is fine has become a more convenient virtue than honesty. Anyone can make ugly things ugly. Culture takes something potentially ugly and skillfully shows the beauty within. A culture that values beauty and honesty will create honestly beautiful works. Movies like The Taxi Driver and Arrival take things like loss, loneliness, lack of belonging, generally ugly feelings, and make something beautiful and relatable out of them. For books, ones like Lord of the Rings or Princess Bride or the Hornblower series can use breathtaking worlds or take wondrous events, fictional and from history, and teach us about humanity, love, and duty. Our nihilistic culture, of course, sees humanity as a plague now and an evil, and this is reflected in all the environmental messaging that boils down to destroy the poor and working class because they're the people who hurt the environment most. Yet it's still considered a nice view to have. There are many beautiful artworks, pretty much anything made before 1960s that has survived till today. Even something like Studio Ghibli's works. They're movies, but any frame is an artwork on its own. And they're able to take beautiful scenes that elicit warmth as well as longing just based on how beautiful the images are. Making beautiful art requires honesty. It requires looking inside and at the outside world and seeing what it is, not what you believe it in based on your politics or beliefs or whatever else have you. A culture that values being unoffensive and nice at the expense of everything else will slip into ugly mediocrity. You can't thrive off being nice. You can only fall lower and lower into the depths of spitefully copying everything great that came before, but with bitterness in place of curiosity. To follow the easy path of lying to ourselves and others, being nice while everything we know culturally falls apart, this is to follow the basest of human instincts, to not stand out or think counter to what's popular. Exploration and beauty, on the other hand, are innate to the human soul, not the basest of instincts. No one mentally healthy seeks to uglify their space, choose an ugly partner, or stops to take in a revolting view. We stop to admire beauty. We may all have different tastes, but people gravitate towards what's beautiful naturally. It is niceness where you refuse to criticize your friend's decorating skills because they suck, because the stripes are clashing with the other patterns, but you can't say that the pile of garbage and the hoarded items are what's making the space feel headache-inducing and like a mess. Beautifying anything takes skill, skills that have to be honed and sharpened, but niceness refuses to say anything that could be perceivably contrarian. No honing, no sharpening, just a bland accepting of, it's good enough, no need to push further. And when something is nice enough, there's no need to aim for great. This has become the mantra of the West, where nice and unoffensive are touted as the highest virtues. We all know this is false, but saying it is another matter. All of our Western culture has been flattened and smoothed out to be as palatable to everyone else as possible. Art is ugly, empty, and void of any inherent meaning. There's no beauty or truth in paintings that sell for millions now. Art and movies are mediums that have stopped trusting their viewers to think. They've lost respect for the observer's intelligence, and in exchange, it is now culturally the acceptable thing to do when you're watching art or a movie to have one eye tied to your phone. Literature is praised for being representational rather than well-written. And as a side note, as an author, I have noticed how prioritized formulaic structures have become. I'm not talking about the hero's journey type of story structure, rather the basic formatting, line structure, and way of communicating has been homogenized. Everything is to be nice and easy. Nothing sharp or challenging in a way a story is written, and certainly nothing that takes more than half a second to understand. This may not be the case everywhere, but it is still a push I've noticed to standardize writing, to make it as flat and expressionless as possible, just a neatly packaged box. Compare classic literature, Russian, Edwardian, early American. So much of it we would now dismiss as bad writing because it isn't the nice, easy to understand format, that we prioritize now. But that is what made those books great. All the edges are now filed down to make everything palatable to the most people. It's been niceified to avoid offending or being misunderstood by the masses or the ignorant. But no one reads now anymore anyways. Culturally, we've lost one of the most important mediums for working through complex thoughts and sharing ideas. Art and writing preserve and push culture. This requires honesty, not nicety. You have to be able to call garbage garbage without being lambasted for not understanding the artistic vision. Valuing art is not the same as being so open-minded your brain falls out, though that is the priority now of the art world. Without honesty or striving for beauty, culture devolves into noise. Niceness is just the slogan of such a culture, a virtue without feeling and the anti-exchange of ideas that we all must bow down to. We can't last building a culture on the fear of criticism. Calling ugly art avant-garde or experimental may be a nice thing to say, but it doesn't make it good. And don't get me wrong, experimental can be good, it's where we grow and learn, but most experimental things are off. Tradition is still around because it has stood the test of time. Throwing out everything that's come before on the altar of the new is just stupidity and hubris manifest. Most new things aren't going to last beyond the fad they started in, and it's the decent thing to do to say so, but it is the nice thing to say everything is great and important. So don't be nice. Be good, be honest, and push for better. Tell your friend their writing needs work, say the film was bad, demand more from art. That's how culture grows, not through niceties but through truth. You can be well-meaning and still honest, but you can't add to our culture by being unoffensive and telling someone their ugly work is nice. Well, that's all from me. Like and subscribe if you so choose, or, don't. Ciao ciao for now. Ashley glances at the crime scene photos again and scowls. She grabs a cup of coffee before entering the other room. "Hi, Mrs. O'Neill. It's nice to see you again." Cale smiles a kind, tired smile her direction the moment he sees her, but his words stop Ashley at the door. She examines his face again. "We've met before?" she asks, recovering and starting towards the chair again. "Not yet," Cale smiles, the look radiating kindness and care, "but we can almost be friends at some point."